I've been to a lot of places, and I've learned to manage my expectations. You read the blogs, you see the reels, you think you know what you're getting into, and then Bali just completely dismantles all of that, because Bali from the ground is already extraordinary. But Bali from the sky, that's something else entirely. That's what we're here for today. What you're about to see took me completely off guard, and I say that as someone who genuinely tries not to be impressed anymore. The terraced rice fields that seem to fold down into the earth like green staircases. The temples perched on the edge of cliffs above a crashing Indian Ocean. The volcano that sits above everything, massive, permanent, indifferent, and the light. The Balinese light that turns everything gold in the late afternoon like the whole island is on fire in the best possible way. This video is not a travel guide, it's not a top 10 list. It's one question. What does it feel like to see Bali the way only a bird gets to see it? Stick around, because by the end of this, I promise you, every other destination is going to feel like it owes you an apology. We start in Ubud, and specifically just north of Ubud, in a village called Tegallalang. From the ground, the rice terraces here are already stunning. Tour buses park, people take photos, everyone leaves satisfied. But lift a drone above Tegallalang at 7 in the morning when the mist is still sitting low in the valley, and something happens that photographs cannot prepare you for. The terraces cascade down the hillside in these perfectly curved layers, each one a slightly different shade of green, depending on what stage of growth the rice is in. Some are deep emerald, some are pale and almost yellow, some are flooded with water, and they reflect the sky like broken mirrors scattered across the hillside. From above, it looks less like a farm, and more like something a very patient artist spent centuries designing. This system is called subak. It's a traditional Balinese irrigation method that's been running continuously for over 1,000 years. 1,000 years of farmers coordinating water flow through these terraces, generation after generation, and what they've created without knowing it is one of the most beautiful things on this planet. UNESCO agrees. Subak is on the World Heritage List. The light at this hour is extraordinary. It hits the water in the flooded paddies and turns them into gold. A farmer walks through his field below, knee-deep in mud, completely unbothered by the drone. This is Tuesday for him. For me, it's one of those moments where you feel genuinely grateful to be alive and in this exact place, at this exact second. Every culture has a mountain that isn't just geography, it's theology. For Bali, that mountain is Agung. At 3,031 meters, Mount Agung dominates the east of the island. You can see it from almost anywhere in Bali on a clear day, rising above everything else. Its peak often wrapped in cloud, like it's trying to stay private. To the Balinese, Agung is the home of the gods. Every temple on the island is oriented toward it. Every sacred direction points to it. It is, in the most literal sense of the word, the center of the Balinese universe. From above, the scale of Agung is hard to process. You fly along the lower slopes and the mountain just keeps going. Lush tropical forest giving way to scrubland, giving way to bare, volcanic rock giving way to cloud. The crater at the top is still active. Agung erupted significantly as recently as 2017, sending tens of thousands of people into evacuation. The island lives in relationship with this volcano. Not in fear, in relationship. There's a difference. In the early morning before clouds gather, the light on Agung is extraordinary. The volcano turns deep purple and then orange as the sun rises behind it. Below, rice fields and villages and temples that have existed at the foot of this mountain for centuries. All of it watched over by something vast and ancient that doesn't particularly care about our schedules. There is nowhere on Earth where I have felt smaller, or more okay with being small. If you asked a filmmaker to design a temple from scratch, purely for visual drama, they would design Tanah Lot. It sits on a rock formation in the ocean just off the southwest coast of Bali, cut off from the shore at high tide, connected by a narrow path at low tide. Waves crash on all sides. The temple sits on top, ringed by shrine umbrellas in black and white, the Balinese symbol of balance between sacred and profane. At sunset, the rock turns dark, and the sky above it goes orange and pink, and the whole thing looks completely fabricated, like a special effect, like nobody could have actually built this here, but they did, and they've been maintaining it for over 5 centuries. From a drone at golden hour, Tanah Lot is almost unfair. The Indian Ocean catches the last light and throws it in every direction, the temple in the foreground, the horizon behind it, the waves sending white foam across the rocks below. It is, without question, one of the most photogenic locations on the surface of the earth. But here's what most visitors miss. Tanah Lot is not just beautiful, it's alive. Ceremonies happen here regularly. Balinese priests coming to pray, offerings left at the base of the rock, incense smoke rising against the sea breeze. The beauty is not decorative, it's devotional, and that changes how it feels to be here. 70 meters above the Indian Ocean. That's where Uluwatu sits. The Bukit Peninsula in the south of Bali is a limestone plateau that ends abruptly in a series of dramatic cliffs that drop straight into the ocean. No beach, no gentle slope, just cliff, and then sea. Uluwatu Temple sits on the most dramatic of these headlands, a complex of ancient shrines perched on the absolute edge, with nothing between you and the horizon. From a drone, the Bukit Cliffs are extraordinary. The limestone has been carved by thousands of years of waves into these irregular, textured walls. In some places, the rock has collapsed inward to form sea caves that the waves surge through. The water below is unreal in color, deep blue in the open ocean, turning turquoise in the shallower areas around the rocks, white where the waves break. The surfers found Uluwatu before the tourists did. The break here, accessible only through a cave in the cliff, and Brine Dans, Andan is one of the most legendary surf spots in the world. From above, you can watch sets rolling in from the open ocean, perfect lines of swell that wrap around the headland and peel for hundreds of meters. Surfers who've come from the other side of the planet just to catch one of those waves. At sunset, the cliff face turns gold and the temple silhouette against the orange sky is one of those images that lives permanently in your memory. Long after you've come home, long after the trip is over, all of this beauty, and I want to be honest with you, is not accidental. It is maintained, actively, deliberately, every single day. Bali is the only Hindu-majority island in Indonesia, and the Balinese practice of Hinduism is unlike anywhere else on earth. It is woven into the fabric of daily life in a way that has no equivalent in the modern world. Every morning women place small offerings, called kanang sari, on doorsteps, on shrines, on the hoods of cars, on the floor of shops, everywhere. Flowers, rice, incense, a daily act of gratitude and balance. There are an estimated 20,000 temples on this island. Most villages have at least 3. The ceremonies happen constantly. If you spend a week in Bali, you will almost certainly stumble into one. Processions of people in white and yellow moving through streets with offerings piled high on their heads. Gamelan music, this shimmering layered percussion that sounds unlike anything in the Western musical tradition. The smell of incense everywhere, all the time. The Kechak fire dance at Uluwatu at sunset, performed against the backdrop of the cliff and the ocean, is one of the most extraordinary things I have ever witnessed. 100 men chanting in interlocking rhythms, their arms moving in unison, a story from the Hindu epic Ramayana told entirely through movement and sound, with the sun dropping into the Indian Ocean behind them. This is the thing about Bali that no drone footage can fully capture. The beauty is spiritual. It comes from a culture that has decided, collectively, to make beauty a daily practice. And you feel that. You feel it in your body even if you can't articulate why. Before we finish, a few honest things that will make your time in Bali better. The best light for drone footage, and honestly for everything, is the hour after sunrise and the hour before sunset. Plan your visits to major sites around this. It's worth the early alarm. Bali is not just Kuta and Seminyak. Those beach towns are fine, but the real island is Ubud, Ahmed, Sideman, Munduk. Get off the tourist trail. Rent a scooter. Get slightly lost. The best things in Bali are never on the main road. The temples require respectful dress, a sarong and sash, which are usually provided or available to rent at the entrance. This is not optional, and it shouldn't be. You are walking into an active place of worship. Behave accordingly. Learn to say terima kasih, thank you, and use it constantly. The Balinese are warm, generous people, and small gestures of respect matter enormously. One more thing about drone footage in Bali: check local regulations before flying. Some areas around temples and near the airport have flight restrictions. Respect them. The last thing a sacred site needs is a drone buzzing over a ceremony. I said at the beginning that Bali would ruin every other destination for you. Let me explain what I mean by that. It's not that Bali is perfect, it has real issues. Over-tourism, traffic, plastic pollution on some beaches, the creeping uniformity of too many smoothie bowls and co-working spaces. None of that is invisible if you're paying attention. What I mean is this: Bali shows you what's possible when beauty is treated as something sacred. When a culture decides that the relationship between the human and the natural and the divine is worth maintaining every single day, with offerings and ceremonies and architecture that points toward the mountain where the gods live. You come home from Bali, and you look at the world differently. You notice what's missing. You notice where beauty has been replaced by convenience, and you start to understand that it doesn't have to be that way. That's what Bali from the sky shows you, not just an island. A way of being in the world, one that we in the West forgot somewhere along the way, and that it might be worth remembering. So now I'm curious, would you go? Or have you already been and felt it for yourself? Tell me the moment that stayed with you, the one you still think about. And if this video gave you a new way of seeing Bali, subscribe to Travel Minge, because this isn't about ticking destinations off a list. It's about experiencing places the way they're meant to be felt. No filters, no fluff, just the world, as it really is. And the next place might change everything again, might just change the way you see the world all over again.